47.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Opposite of Cheating podcast. I'm Trisha Bertram-Gallant, your co-host, and this is episode number 47. And I'm here today with Ronald Lethcoe from Clover Park Technical College. He is a curriculum and instructional design specialist there. And Ronald, you reached out to me, was it just 2 years ago or was it three? No, it must have been because ChatGPT just came out 3 years ago. So must have
That's
been two
right.
years ago, two and a half. Ronald was doing an event up at Clover Park and asked me to be a part of it. And I was so impressed. At that point, they had a Canvas course for their faculty, or you were just finishing it up. You were presenting on it at that conference.
Yeah.
And I was so impressed with the work he was doing, and he keeps doing great things for his faculty, but also for the region, the technical colleges in the region. So I wanted to bring him on the podcast to tell us more. So welcome, Ronald.
Sure. Thanks. I'm happy to be here.
So I gave people a little tiny background, but why don't you give them a bit more context about our information about what you do and in what context?
Sure. So, as you said, Ronald Lethcoe, Curriculum and Instructional Design Specialist at Clover Park Technical College. I've been with the college for about 3 years, and actually, it was right about the time that I got hired that ChatGPT kind of blew up. I think it was in maybe March that ChatGPT 4.0 came out, and then that's when everybody was really like, "Oh,
Oh,
this
not as dumb.
is a big thing that's going
Yeah,
to change everything." And
yeah,
so. We spent that year really learning about it, using it, trying to set up workshops with our faculty to let them know about it as well. One conference we went to that I'll always shout out is the Teach and Learn with AI. It's in I think the University of
that's the one
Southern
in
Florida
Florida.
or
That's the one in
University of
Florida.
Central Florida
Yeah.
is they put it on. And we went that first year, and that I like that conference because they show it's a bunch of instructors and teachers from all walks of life, and they come and they show how they're using it in the classroom.
Mm,
And that it was like really, oh, you can do so many things. It's not
hmm.
just, get some advice or help you brainstorm. Like you can design assessments
Yeah.
and make escape rooms that are AI generated. And so
Wow.
that really inspired us and like let us know, okay, we need to go harder on this and we need to let our faculty know. I created that course, Generative AI in Higher Education, which is available on the Canvas Commons if you type that in. And I think it'll be in the show notes.
Yep.
But I presented on that at the Washington Canvas conference
Yep.
in that would have been 2024 March, and that's where I met you, and you were doing one of the plenary talks there.
Right.
And so I was honored because you came to my presentation, and then you referenced it later in your
Yes.
talk, and I
Yeah,
was
that's
so
right.
I was so happy to hear that. And I think you recognized, what was going on in that course, in that we were trying to get faculty to think about it like holistically. We want them,
Yeah.
it introduces maybe the future of education with AI. And then right after that, we go into the ethics and some of the problems behind it. So lots of good, lots of bad. Then we just focused on how to use it. Like how can you use it for your outcomes? How can you use it to make lesson plans easier? How
Hmm.
can you use it to create formative, summative assessments?
Yeah.
And so yeah, the course was great. We were doing an OER institute before, but then we thought, oh, let's pivot and change it to
Right.
an AI institute in the summer. And then that's when I reached out to you and said, can
Yes.
you be our keynote for that
Yeah.
event? And you graciously accepted. And I think that was a great opportunity for all the people that were there that weren't able to see you talk at the WAC conference
Right.
to see kind of your mindset as somebody who's working in academic integrity related to this new technology that is really testing the boundaries of academic integrity.
That it is. It's and right after we got tested, the boundaries got tested with the pandemic and all that emergency remote instructions. And Before that, it was, the internet, and before, there's always
Yeah,
been something. There's always been a technological disruption, but this one, yeah, I mean, the internet did affect every discipline, obviously. The contract sheeting industry affected mostly the writing focused courses, but this affects every single discipline. And so it really and when something's created to replace the human brain, it causes educators a bit of concern. I don't know
for
why. I
sure.
don't I can't understand. And to replace human workers, right? I mean,
Yeah.
they've been very mechanized as one of the AI companies has been very clear their job, they want to replace blue collar workers. Sorry, white collar workers. And so, I mean,
Yeah.
what are we training our students for? I mean, this is the question. People get caught up in, I think, the AI hype or the AI FOMO, and we don't stop to say, okay, but if they're actually trying to replace the jobs our graduates usually take, what are
Hmm.
we training them for? But anyways, before we
Yeah.
get into all that, because I know you're working with faculty a lot, got to ask you the question we ask everybody. What is your first memory of encountering this idea of academic integrity? Was it as a student? Was it as an instructional designer?
I think it's one of those things that, as an early child, you learn about integrity and like what's right and wrong. In school, you're taught, look at your own paper, don't look at, don't copy somebody else's work. Um, Essentially, AI is just copying somebody's work if you're just taking,
Yeah.
what the output and not really looking at it. I would say, I can't pinpoint the exact,
Hmm.
you know, aha moment like you should you should just do the right thing
Yeah.
academically, but I will say I have a son and he's 9 years old and he
Mm,
works on some pretty advanced math for his age, and he's always loved math. I kind of raised him to uh, focus on the learning,
nice.
cultivate a love for learning. And I feel like I was successful in that. And he's got this program that he uses that he's like doing math problems and trying to solve like these really advanced equations. And he gets stuck. And he has a teacher that he meets once a week that kind of
Mm,
like goes over and says, "Oh, this is how you do this." But you can't meet that teacher all the time.
yeah.
There's only a small window to meet the teacher. Like some of it is starting to get more advanced for
Yeah.
me. Like I was like, okay, I can handle, some like basic algebra, but
Yeah.
now it's just like roots and all this kind of stuff. And so what I do is I take a photo of it and then I send it over to ChatGPT and I say, ChatGPT, what do you think about this? And the first time that I did that, he said, Dad, don't do that. That's cheating. I don't want the answer."
Right.
And what I had to explain to him was you're right to pause. You don't
Yeah.
want to offload the learning. That's the academic integrity, that this 9-year-old knows.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I say, well, we're not doing it to find the answer. We're doing it to break down the process and so that you can understand the process, find, you've done all this work for this problem, you just can't find the answer. The answer looks strange. Okay, let's look at what you've done and then ask an expert
Hmm.
to analyze it and, tell you what you could do differently to get,
Mm,
to be more successful. And
hmm.
so I think, when you ask me about my first memory of academic integrity, kind of hard to pinpoint,
That,
but that
that's a
is
powerful
a
one.
very salient example of, when it
Yeah.
came up with my son. So.
So when your son's working on this advanced math for his age, do you mean he's working on it outside of school or he's just moving ahead, in the
Yeah, it's
field?
this program called Gumon. It's from Korea, and he's
Okay.
been doing it for like a couple years, and then he's just kind of kept that going while being here as well.
Oh, okay. Okay. So I love that. I always think when we talk about kids talking about integrity, so we have these stickers here,
Oh,
right,
I
that are super
want those
cute.
stickers.
Her name is
Oh, they're the best.
Courage. And then she's dressed up as one of our unofficial mascots, Sun God, and that's a faded one, but she's dressed up as our official mascot, King Triton. And if you give those students that sticker, if you get what you give your son that sticker and ask him what integrity means, they give such beautiful answers, so pure answer.
Yeah.
So if you haven't done that with
Wow.
him, because he's like, Dad, don't cheat. But if you've never asked him what does integrity mean, like, or
Okay.
take one of the values like honesty or trust or respect, and just ask them what it means to them, and it's gorgeous what they'll say.
Wow.
Yeah,
Well, it sounds like I need one of those stickers to
I
give to
think
my
so. I
son.
can't believe I didn't bring them up when I was there. That's great. It's so hard though. I mean, what I like about what you've done is that you went and you used ChatGPT. You were with your son when you were doing that. You didn't just tell him, go use ChatGPT.
Hmm.
Because I don't know about you, and I know this isn't your job, but you're a dad, and so I want to ask you about this. Do you have thoughts on whether kids your son's age should be directly interacting with these general purpose tools? I'm not maybe not talking about one they might give them in school that's created for kids like Magic. Well, Magic School is more for teachers, but would you let your son just go on ChatGPT and start having a conversation with it? Or do you?
I don't think so. I think it would be something that I would have to do with him.
Yeah.
Because at the early age, they kids' imaginations are wild. They can go in any direction,
Yeah.
and like you said, I think my son still has kind of that pure, so I'm not too worried about
Yeah.
him kind of going into areas that are questionable.
Yeah.
But definitely like the older ages that are like kind of experimenting and they hear things from friends and oh, I wonder what that
Yeah.
is, and then there's stories about kids that have really like put their trust
They're making
and all
friends with
their
them.
emotion into this thing that the problem is they feel like it's a human because it
Yes.
acts like a human.
Because they designed it to be
But
like that. Yeah.
right, it's designed to be like that. But at the same time, the developing brain can't make that
Yeah.
distinction. And so I think with kids, it has to really be like literacy, AI literacy has to be at the forefront
Yeah.
if you're going to use it. It's the same with the internet. Like
Yeah.
you can't just give a kid a computer and say, hey, do whatever you want. They're just going to go and try to find, whatever is
Yep.
the most interesting thing
Yep.
for them. And especially on the internet,
Yep.
like some of the
Well, even sometimes
interesting
they
things
don't
can be
try,
dangerous.
right? It's because of these algorithms and the way these chatbots are algorithms on the web or social media, and also in the chatbot is they will in ask they will invite the student to do something or think of something or engage in a way they hadn't even intended to.
Right.
And so
Yeah,
that's the scary part to me. So I was so glad to hear that you did that with your son, not just told him to go do that. I think we have to learn from our social media experiment and not repeat that with these chatbots. We're already seeing
exactly.
the damaging impacts of that. Okay. So, back to your job. Not that being a dad's no job. It's the mom and dads are the most important jobs in the world. But
Agreed.
the day job that you go to at Clover and the kind of the extra work you do for the whole region. What's one of the most interesting things you're working on right now in terms of helping educators deal with this whole Gen AI thing?
Yeah, so this goes back to what I was just talking about AI literacy. I think it's important. Um, I always advocate, get in there and kind of like, mess
Play
around and
around.
experiment. As adults, we
Sure.
hopefully we have like the frameworks to know kind of where the boundaries are.
Yeah.
And maybe testing the boundaries is part of your experimentation.
Yep.
But for just, the everyday teacher, faculty member that already has like a stacked plate of things to do, I
Yeah.
think more guided, intentional training is
Hmm.
necessary for them to be able to use it in an effective way,
Yeah.
and then also use it in an ethical way. And
Yeah.
so that's, like I said, one of the most important things. We just released a course called AI Essentials,
Mm.
and
Mm.
that was the second module was I can't remember the exact title for it, but it related to ethics. And the person that I worked on the project with is the accessible technology coordinator
Mm.
over at Tacoma Community College, which is where we initially met.
Yep.
He is Joni Gutierrez. He created an ethos called the AEIOU ethos,
Mm.
and it stands for accessibility. I should have this up. I'll look it up in the
Put
background
it in the
during
show
when I'm
notes.
listening.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll put it in the show notes. But it just relates to being open, being inclusive, and it's this framework where when you look at AI, you have to think about these things. You have
Hmm.
to think about how the different people can access it, and how some people can't access it, or what's really going on behind the scenes, in the black box, and
Okay.
so of the LLM.
Yeah.
The course it's 5 hours.
Okay.
We designed it to make it like, oh, I have a free couple hours on the weekend. I can knock this out. And it's really compact, but the information is like all packaged, like the stuff that you really need to know. It's like
Yeah.
it's we call it the AI essentials because it's like the AI essentials. Like
Yeah.
what can it do?
How
What to
does it
watch out
work?
for? How to use it? Like we give a bunch of prompts. We give like a prompt worksheet
Yep.
for anybody in education to take and they can use and experiment with. But one of the things that I'm really proud about, and I think it touches back on what we were talking about earlier, the last two modules. The number four is AI as a collaborator.
Mm.
So when
Hmm.
to use AI and when not to use AI, because there's some like situations where it's going to take me longer to
Yeah.
like conversate with the AI and correct and do all that. I could have just done it myself.
Yeah.
And there's obviously opposites where it's like
Yeah.
AI will definitely do like a majority of the grunt work, and then I'll just go in and kind of like make
Yeah.
any sort of adjustments or refinements. So that's one of the I haven't seen that one a lot, so I'm
Yeah.
really proud to put that one in there. And then the last one is about digital adaptability.
Mm.
And what you were saying earlier, like we had the internet and we had COVID,
Yeah.
and we're like always changing, and it seems like everything's happening faster and faster and faster. And so the skill that I think we need to cultivate for the future, in addition to, all the kind of
Yeah.
standard ones, but uh,
Yeah.
adaptability,
One
like
of those
being
durable
able
human
to
skills. Yeah.
yeah, like being able,
Yep.
yeah, exactly. I mean, that's how we survive as humans throughout time is we
Yep.
adapt, we change.
Yep.
And I think digital adaptability, being able to kind of navigate this digital space that's always changing. I think if there's any skill that is going to be beneficial for, I guess, anybody really
Yeah.
in the future is this digital adaptability.
Yeah. Yeah. Adaptability's always been a skill. In some ways, I wish we wouldn't compound things. So I've said to people like, why is there AI literacy and digital literacy and information literacy? Isn't it kind of critical thinking? And are we making things more complicated and making faculty feel overwhelmed and burdened by having to pay attention to all these different things when really there's some foundational stuff we're talking about there. But in this case, I'm thinking, oh, digital adaptability. I don't mind that qualifier because I do feel like it's different as a human to adapt to, oh, there's a lion. I don't want to get eaten. Like in a in a physical world, in an organic world where other things are physical and organic, and I kind of get them and I understand that. Um, to me, that's different than adapting to an artificial or, as you're saying, digital world. But then we did that before in the industrial age. We adapted to an automated world, but I would say not very well, right? We ignored all the
Mm.
people getting hurt during that transition process. We ignored the short-term pain, and frankly, I think what 100 years later, we've still ignored the pain that has caused
We're
to
still kind of following that
a
same
lot of
system,
people.
especially in education, of
Yeah.
like, put everybody together and in a room and let them all, we have one person that's going to tell them, and if they can't figure it out,
We
they're
call
going to
them
have to,
Luddites,
yeah, like
right? Like we
they just
insult
can't cut
them.
it in this world.
Yeah.
But maybe that person is just better in a different
Yeah.
aspect, and so
So I've got a few follow-up questions for you.
oh sure.
I had an original one, but I'm gonna skip that one for a second and do the one that just popped in my head. When you're working with a lot of faculty, do you believe that every faculty member first needs to be AI literate? And then two, does every instructor need to be able to teach students about AI?
I mean, I think there's a spectrum. I definitely think AI literacy is necessary just
Hmm.
because it's not just in the classroom where it's going to happen. Like
It's in
when
real life.
these students are graduating, they're going to job interviews and
Yeah,
they're asking about AI. Like you can look at the stats, you can look at
yeah,
any of the AI reports. It's increased over the last 3 years as
sure.
what something people talk about, what employers are asking about. And so I mean, it's hard to differentiate, what's AI hype train and what's just like
Yeah,
responsible action by the faculty. But I do think that like literacy is the baseline,
yeah.
right? Like in the same way at our college, one of our college-wide learning outcomes is technology literacy.
Okay.
And I think we would be doing a disservice to the students if we didn't at least include AI in the conversation
As an
with them.
institution,
Yeah.
right? As a whole college. But
Yeah.
does every instructor need to be a part of that conversation in every course? Maybe, okay, let me change that. So maybe every instructor has to be a part of that conversation, but do they have to talk about it in every course? You might feel like this is a
So
question because I think the answer is no. So I just, well, I'll be transparent about that.
I got a little bias, but let
I
me
got
let
a
me
little
let me
bias. I got a little bias. That's why you challenge me or agree with me or disagree with me, whatever.
I would say, okay, so I think literacy for the
Literacy, yes.
faculty
Yes.
is important, at
Yes.
least so that they know about it.
Yes.
If they're
Agreed.
putting their head in the sand and they're saying, don't want it, like
That's
don't
not good.
talk about it, that's not
Yeah.
that I would say that's not responsible because
We had a faculty
for
member for
the
a long time that refused to use email. I mean, the rest of his career. And so we're like, but dude, that's how we
but
communicate.
that a person refusing to use email only really affects that person.
No, it affects all
But
of us who are trying to get a hold of them.
when a student well yeah I guess so that's true, and the student
And the
accessibility,
students. Okay.
that's true, that there is more to
Yeah.
consider there. But I would say if a student comes into class and they ask about AI,
Yeah.
or God forbid, they use AI in a way that the faculty member is like, no, you
Yeah.
can't use AI that way. Like it's all their fears realized. Oh, they're just coming in and they're doing it to cheat and
Yeah.
they're just
Right.
getting the answers, but they're not learning it. I understand they're coming from a place of care and they
Sure.
want their students to actually learn, I hope.
Absolutely.
But if they don't know how to talk about that with them, if that happens and then they go, "Oh, you used AI, like you failed the assignment." But there's nothing about AI in the syllabus, or they
Yeah.
haven't talked about AI norms in the class,
Or even
then
academic
that
integrity,
becomes a
maybe.
problem. Yeah, exactly. So that becomes a problem when the students are using it, which
Sure.
is happening right now. And
Yeah.
so I think, you don't have to have a whole lesson dedicated to AI,
Right.
but
That's what I'm
what we
talking about.
encourage our faculty to do, we created AI usage tags, and it's kind of a modification of, you see the table with the five
The assessment scale.
levels. We we brought that down to three. It's basically green is good to go. Yellow means like look carefully at the assignment details on how to use AI,
Mhm.
and then red means don't use it at all.
Yeah.
And we encourage our faculty to put that table of all three in their syllabus
Hmm.
as a talking point to say throughout this course, you might see this banner on the top of your Canvas assignment, And if it's a red banner, then let me get the
Mm,
exact wording here. It says if it's red, stop. Using AI will interfere with your learning. In this assignment, AI is not allowed. And so that's the key part. It's some assignments, you if you use AI, you're not going to get that learning. The
yeah,
struggle is important for the students. And
yeah,
so, yeah, that's kind of a way to proactively
yeah,
talk about AI. And like I said, it doesn't need to be a whole hour
yeah,
conversation, depending on, what the course is. But I think
yeah.
just at least bringing it up is important.
Totally agree with you. So we're on the same page. AI literacy for everybody. Every instructor should have explanation of how AI interacts or does not, should not interact with their course, but not every instructor needs to teach with AI or teach students how to use AI.
Okay, I can agree with
Yeah,
that. That
yeah, yeah,
that's fine. There,
yeah.
if you're teaching automotive and you're like fixing a muffler on a car, you
Yeah.
don't really need
No, no.
AI for that. You're gonna need to like learn the skill by
Although I
doing
guess
it.
if you're trying to fix a muffler, I mean, my husband would have gone to YouTube in the past, and maybe people are going to ChatGPT instead if they run into a problem, right?
When I don't know how to do something, my first thing now is, oh, I wonder what chat would,
Yeah.
suggest for this. So
Yeah, it's
there's
funny.
something there.
Yeah. So, okay. Now I'm again skipping the next question I thought I was going to ask. So, you've got the red, light, and green policy essentially.
Yeah.
So, University of Sydney, with their two-lane assessment approach says, there's open assessments that are unsupervised, secure assessments that are supervised. They have banned the banning of AI on unsupervised assessments because you can't enforce it. It's hard to detect it. Students are going to do it anyways. And so it creates an unfair
Mm.
environment. So they're basically saying open assessments are formative. If you're if they're unsupervised, they're formative and they're meant for learning and AI you shouldn't be banned. That doesn't mean you don't give instruction. It means you tell them how you think it will help their learning, how you think it would hinder their learning, and you have them disclose, if and when they used it. And if you have to ban it, then the assessment has to be supervised. Um, what do you say to that? Because that sounds like not what you all are doing, and I know that's an Australian approach, but I've been really kind of sitting with that a lot.
Um, it kind of reminds me, I was listening to the podcast, I think it was with Lance Eaton, where you were talking about the potato chips. It's like you
Yeah,
have, they're here.
they're here.
Here's, oh, this is
Resist.
an unsupervised assessment and it's just a quiz. I could just copy all the answers and,
Or
or
use an
all the
agent.
questions.
Comment. Just have comment do it for me.
Yeah,
Right?
right. Oh, yeah, that's a whole nother thing that I don't know if we'll have time to talk about. But I think that yeah, that's in the assessment design. That's where faculty need to know, okay, this assessment, um, if I give them this assessment that's just a quiz and it's unsupervised, then there's a chance that their students are going to use it. Even if I talk about it and say like,
99%
don't use
chance.
AI. It's the potato chips. They're right
Yep.
there. They're so
Yep.
delicious. I want
Yep.
them. I don't want the pressure of, going through this and God forbid I miss a question or two and,
Oh, I
I,
missed the
I
point.
fail
Yeah.
the assessment, which that's I have a whole
Yeah.
thing about, like what's the purpose of the assessment and like
Yes.
all that kind of stuff, which I try to talk about with faculty. I would have to agree with it. It's not something that we've really run into. Like I haven't had any faculty come and say like, oh, the students are going through and using ChatGPT for the quiz. Not to say that's not happening,
Yeah.
but I definitely like this idea of making that distinction, and props to Sydney for coming up with that. That's something I'm going to talk with my faculty
Yeah.
next insert.
Well, then you'll want to also listen to the Ellis episode. She's at Western Sydney, and they've taken the two-lane approach and put it into four quadrants, called the Ensure and Aspire, or Inspire and Assure approach. So you might want to listen to that episode for everybody.
Okay.
I'll put it in the show notes. But in case you're listening to this and you want to know, right now it's episode 36. So that's awesome. Okay. Um, I'm going back to the question I had before that I didn't ask, which is you mentioned about AI literacy several times. Are you into this whole debate, a conversation about AI literacy versus AI fluency? And do you understand it?
I think I got a handle on it.
Okay.
So from and that's something actually that we're focusing on. I'm head of our AI task force at Clover Park Technical College, and it's had it's gone through two iterations. The
Yeah.
first round was I think we formed it after we went to that Teach and Learn
Yeah.
in 2023, and we were like, we need the course. And then we also need a policy. And
Yeah.
we also got to know what our faculty are like
Correct.
feeling. Like we got to test the water. And so that task force was tasked with creating a survey. From the survey, that's where we got the information that we need to create the course. And then that also informed our policy. And I think we were one of the first colleges that had a policy that was adapted by the college.
Yeah.
It wasn't much. It was mostly like, faculty are going to choose how they want to use AI, and if they bring it up in the class, then you have to follow what they
Yeah.
say, and if they don't bring it up,
Yeah.
treat it like you're consulting with a friend. Like
Yeah.
you wouldn't want your friend to do your essay for you.
Mhm.
You can ask your friend for some help and some ideas, but the work has to be yours. Um, and so uh, the second round, we are going through the Achieving the Dream. They released a document that is creating an AI-enabled community college, and they make that distinction in that document where I think of AI literacy as just knowing what it is and how it works,
Mhm.
how it could be used, and then somebody who is AI fluent is somebody who knows how to use it, like, and when to use it. And so that kind of
Mhm.
goes back to, that module in the AI Essentials course. Would I rather, is AI going to help me to solve this? Which AI am I going to use? Like for me,
Yeah.
if I'm, just want some quick answers, and, like I don't, well, I guess it depends, but I mainly use ChatGPT. But if I want to like do like help make my writing a little bit more interesting
Claude.
or expand on some
Yeah.
ideas, then
Yeah.
I'll use Claude.
Yep.
I'll still be the human in the loop. I'm still out there checking
Yeah.
and letting it know like this isn't right, and kind of adjusting it and working together with it. But I think there's different models. Right now, I've been really into Google's Gemini. It's been kind of on and off for a while, but
Yeah.
their image generation is really great,
Yeah.
and they're really pushing that. I keep seeing like ads on TV of like
I
teddy bears in different places around the world, and I see it on my phone. Oh, I'm in Google Photos. Did you know you could have Gemini
Right.
in your Google Photos?
Right.
And I'm like, let's slow down just a minute. Like I still want to be in control of like what information I give you. I don't want you to have like complete access to all my
Yeah.
Google Docs, but I think that is the difference is, it's basic knowledge versus I know how to use it, and
Yeah.
I'm more intentional about the
Yeah.
ways that I use it and what I use.
Yeah. Well, since we'll end the conversation, but since you brought up Google, I'm just going to put it out here right here right now. In episode 47 that we're filming this December 17th, and I am already sick of Nano Banana or whatever they're calling their infographic thing. I am
That's the one. Oh, the infographic.
I used to be so impressed with people who could make infographics because I personally find visual representation of my knowledge very difficult to
Yeah.
craft that myself. And so I was always really impressed, and I am so unimpressed now with with infographics because everybody's just putting them out and they all look the same to me. So
So,
anyways,
so
that's
this
my
is
little
this
pet
is
peeve.
another problem, and I don't know, this is another could be a whole nother episode, but
Yeah,
like I think students are now starting to notice when things are AI generated and when
yeah,
they get one of those infographics that, looks great, at first glance, but maybe I look a little bit
still
closer and I'm like,
country.
is that a letter? That's not even
Yeah,
a letter in our alphabet. Like,
yeah.
why is this on
A
there? And
snooze
so
fest. Can you imagine if students, we talked about graphic syllabi for a long time. Can you imagine if every faculty all member all of a sudden used graphic syllabus? It wouldn't have the same. impact as it does when a
That's true.
handful of cool faculty use it, right? So it's to me, it's
That's
kind of
a good
the
point.
same thing. It's just that over reliance or the inundation of everything looking the same is a snooze fest to me. But anyways, thank you so much. I do think we could talk for another hour, so we will have to just schedule another time to touch base in 6 months or a year or something, maybe at the beginning of season three to see what other cool things you're doing up there at Clover Park and in your region.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I appreciate the time and opportunity to be on the podcast. I'm a big fan and I appreciate all the work that you're doing. And I love the book.
Thanks, Ronald. I did not pay him for that, everybody.